Yo, what is up, everyone? Today, we are doing the finale of What If Naruto Was Byakuya's Reincarnation. Now, I have not done this series in like 5 months, I think, so I think it's deserving of this continuation, at least, right? Because I'm thinking of at least trying to finish this series. I didn't complete yet, so yeah, hopefully I can do that now. But yeah, we'll be going over the rest of part 1 of Naruto, which will be the takedown of the Akatsuki. I don't know how long this will be. I hope it's 30 minutes, but it could be longer. But yeah, without further ado, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Bring that heat, boy.
So we resume this what if, right? After the Tsunade retrieval arc, as Naruto and Jiraiya are walking through the village with Tsunade, right, and Shizune and their pet pig. Yeah, I don't even know why that was a thing, but never mind. So they're walking through, and like everyone sees like how Naruto like practically, in a sense, brought back with the next Hokage, right, showing like his, in a sense, strength and like reliability. Not reliability, but like he's a good ninja practically, in a sense. And like after this portion would go like smoothly, like Tsunade has her inauguration, I believe that's the term, and she would become the 5th Hokage, right? And of course Jiraiya and Naruto, they want to go after the Akatsuki, right? And of course, Jiraiya is like explaining, like how they can do just that, right? And he's saying like how he's doing some spying and espionage in the Rain Village where their hideout is, and hopefully like once they get enough info, they can finally like have a final battle there, right? As Naruto's like interested, right? So we now switch perspectives to a far distant planet. Yeah, you heard me, I said planet. As we're on the planet of the Otsutsukis, right? As like day and day, right, they feel like Naruto's pressure, like spiritual pressure or just life essence, just rise like every day. And they're not like scared, but like they see him as a formidable opponent, right? And they, obviously they see the organization being the Akatsuki, as obviously, Kara is still down there, and they're forming, they're gathering their power and technology to finally reveal themselves. So what would happen is they would send a Otsutsuki down there, obviously specifically two, this being Momoshiki and Kinshiki, right? And they're sent down there to gather intel on Naruto's strength. And of course, they were sent first to the Rain Village to deal with the Akatsuki, or at least try to, in a sense, have them under them, in a sense, like recruit them. Obviously, we know that's not gonna go well, right? And so now Naruto and Jiraiya, right, they're heading towards the Rain Village, right? And of course, Sasuke has not really gone rogue. I mean, he has no reason to go rogue at this point of the story. I mean, Naruto's legit giving him the best training he could ever receive, so I don't really see that happening. But what would occur is, Naruto and Jiraiya, they would head towards the Rain Village, right? And they would start to, go through the small towns and villages, in a sense, helping the people, but just minorly, right? And right before they would make it to the Rain Village, they would make it to an island, right? An island they had been to before. This island, in a sense, connects them, like is the bridge to some of the lands, like the Rain Village and the Mist Village. As we know, this is the land of the waves, Naruto has been here before, and he has liberated the place with, Team 7, right? And once, he makes it there, obviously, like, everyone would recognize him, right? Because the bridge is legit, like, named after him. And what would occur next is they would go through the town, right? As someone would tell them that there's been a few people here, and they're asking about Zabuza's blade, right? And of course, Naruto's concerned because, like, in a sense, like, if anyone wanted to steal the blade, that would be worrying, not to him, but, like, in a sense, they would have to be, like, pretty strong individuals to seek out the blade, because no one weak would want to have the blade, or at least think they could wield the blade. As he had heard, or would rise until he heard this nearby militia had actually retrieved the blade from Zabuza's grave, and they were safe holding it in their fortress, right? As they'd be walking through, they were looking for the person that wanted to take the blade from them, because it was practically easy pickings, right? As they'd be walking through, they would come across a Suigetsu, right? So Naruto and Suigetsu would start talking, and he would try to recruit Suigetsu to the village, right? Being the deal, like, if he got the blade, he would have to join the Leaf Village. As Suigetsu would then tell, like, Naruto, like, Orochimaru has, like, talked a lot about him, in a sense, like, because, like, he heard, like, Orochimaru talking about him a lot, about wanting to, like, kill him, because, like, he's very potent, and he's beaten Orochimaru many times, so he's just truly a thorn in his side, right? And Suigetsu would then be questioned by Naruto, like, where's Orochimaru, right? And of course, like, Suigetsu says, like, he doesn't know, because, like, he's been moving from hideout to hideout, but he knows that the Akatsuki might know. As Naruto would ask, how does he know the Akatsuki? As Suigetsu would say that he had heard Orochimaru talking about the Akatsuki and their plans, just like to Kabuto, and he managed to hear and, like, listen, and just the name Akatsuki, like, he could possibly, like, infer, like, who they were. So obviously from there they would go to the fortress, as they would, the gate guard would then see them, as Naruto would then, say that he's here to see their leader, as the gate guard would ask him for his name, right, to see if their leader was talking about, meeting him, as Naruto would then say, my name's Naruto, Uzumaki. In this case, yeah, he does usually in the first part of the series say Namikaze, but he can't really say that here because it wouldn't really work in his interest. So what would happen is the gate guard would, realize who Naruto was, and he would then, like, tell him, like, he's not allowed to be there, like, because, like, he knows why Naruto was here, in a sense. So Naruto would unsheath his blade, as he would appear behind him, as he would sheath it again, saying, I didn't really need your permission, but thanks anyway. As, obviously the gate guard would collapse, right, with a slash through his chest, as Naruto had used his usual Senka ability, right? His technique is sword slice, I guess you can say, aiming for the soul link and soul sleep, but in this case it would be the heart and lung. that would be more appropriate in this situation. So Naruto and Suigetsu and Jiraiya would keep walking through, as they would go through the militia and small time mob members that had came from Gato's incorporation to work here as a militia. As Naruto would go through the members pretty easily. I mean, they're pretty weak compared to Naruto, as Shippuden Sasuke, or early Shippuden Sasuke, was able to go through all of them without using a Sharingan, I believe. If he didn't use a Sharingan, then he I don't know if he used a Sharingan or not, but I don't think he did. He did it, like, pretty much in base form with just his katana. So Naruto and Suigetsu would make it through the room, where they would see the man holding the blade, but he's really struggling, like, he can't even lift it, right? And of course, Suigetsu would pick it up, using his Hozuki technique to, in a sense, inflate his arm with water and giving him his arm more strength, as he would be able to lift a blade. Then he would obviously have to grow accustomed to the blade and adapt to its I guess you could say durability, because just its weight. That's what I mean, not really durability, but obviously also its ability, right, to regenerate itself with the iron in people's blood. So from there they would leave the fortress, as from there Naruto would ask if he can come along for an intel mission, right, for getting intel on Orochimaru from the Akatsuki, as Suigetsu would end up agreeing, as they'd head towards the Rain Village, right? So once they make it in, they'd walk in, just try to be as subtle as possible. But as soon as they walked in and the rain practically touched their skin, they were already detected. So they'd be walking through town as they knew Jiraiya and Naruto would get the same information from those two guys, a Rain Village ninja, I believe, or mercenaries, as once they get the information about who their leader was, being Pain, suddenly they would be hit with rods through the face. It was pretty brutal, but in the end they would be killed. So they'd look towards the right where the rods were sent from, or thrown from, as they'd look upon 6 men and women, right? As this would be all the 6 paths. They'd all have orange hair and chakra rods throughout their noses, or to them it seemed like nose piercings and a lot of piercings. But Naruto would then say, "Are you the leader?" As he would point to the man in the middle being the Diva Path, as the Diva Path would say yes. As Naruto would then say, "I'm not really here to fight you, but I need information. I heard you had an associate once, Orochimaru, I believe." As he would continue saying, "I need to know his current whereabouts." As what would occur is the paths would just not start laughing, but they would, in a sense, look at him like he's stupid, practically. How could he request something so impossible, right? Because why would he even request for something so minuscule, and not minuscule, but something they he knows they won't Naruto won't get from them. So obviously the Diva Path would then say that he was a former member. If you were to give any whereabouts on his location, that would then in a sense hurt them. As Naruto then continues saying, "So you're the Akatsuki leader, Pain?" As Nagato, or the Diva Path, would nod his head, as Naruto in a sense would start to fight, right? He's not getting any information from them. He's gonna beat it out of them. It's quite that simple. So he would unsheath his blade, as Suigetsu would do the same, as they would start fighting, right? They would just start to gauge their power. Jiraiya wasn't going Sage mode anytime soon. Pretty soon, actually. But they would start clashing blade to blade, as they would start to fight, right? When it came to an elbow path, she would start, I don't know whether, I would say he, because it's Nagato controlling them, and it's just a corpse, so why not? So the animal path would summon all the animals, as it would start to run towards Naruto, right? As it would try to crush Naruto with his foot, and suddenly the foot of the huge crow and elephant, no, not elephant, rhino, would just completely have cuts throughout its whole foot, as Naruto's spiritual pressure would in a sense protect him, similar to how Aizen does it, but it's not on the same level, since Aizen legit has passive existence erasure. Naruto would be able to do this simply because these 2 animal summonings were so beneath him, right? It would be able to work, similar to how Zamasu's Hakai won't be able to work on Beerus, because Beerus is just so infinitely stronger than him, right? So you can only use existence or erasure on someone who's weaker than you. So they would continue the fight, right? The animal paths would be desummoned, or at least dealt with, as so with the animal path, right? So they would start, Naruto then, release into his Shikai, right? As he would send the flower petals towards the Preta path, not really knowing his abilities yet. The Preta path would then put his hands up and try to absorb them, as his petals would then turn into pure chakra or just energy and be absorbed by the Preta path, right? As suddenly the Preta path's hands would just start burning up, right? Because he just tried to absorb spiritual pressure. Like that's not gonna work out, So he would then release the pressure back, as the pressure would then turn back into the sakura petals and back into Naruto's blade, right? So he sees the Preta path's abilities, right? Being able to absorb ninjutsu. So he tells Jiraiya if he has some sort of alternate power system that's not ninjutsu, as Jiraiya would then think of something. Sage mode, right? So he would tell Naruto to defend him for a few seconds, as he would summon Ma and Pa, as he would go into sage mode, right? It would take him a few seconds. He would have to meditate and really focus on gathering the little bits of sage chakra. So not that, Ma and Pa do it for him, but he still has to, in a sense, absorb at least some of it, right? So he would go into sage mode, as Ma and Pa would start to use their genjutsu on the pain paths, the paths of pain, as it was more optical illusions in a sense, and sound-based illusions. So the Diva path would then try to use his universal pull on Naruto, as Naruto would then stab his blade into the ground, right, holding on, as obviously he would see the cooldown, right, once it ended the universal pull, or the I shouldn't say it, but I can't remember the actual name, the Japanese-based name from it. Bancho Tenin. All right, that's the term. So once he would see the cooldown for Bancho Tenin, he would then, go on to use it against him, right? In a sense, waiting for him to use the ability before then going into Bankai, right? He would drop his sword in the ground, and he would then say, Bankai, Senbon Sakura, Kageyoshi, as his Bankai then released into his effect, as pain would then be sent to practically a different dimension for a second, as he would see Naruto's summon 10 blades on each side, as they would then disappear into or I guess in a sense transform into sakura petals, as he would see the number would then go from maybe 1,000 to possibly at least 1,000,000. Right? As Nagato watching this or controlling the doll would be kind of scared for a second, but he would return to his normal composure, as what would occur next is Naruto would then start using his petals on him, right? He would swing down his arm, and then the petals would then hit pain, right? And he would do it again and again and again, until the corpse, or at least the Diva path, was just unrecognizable. The only thing that was left from his body is the chakra rods. As Jiraiya would walk up to the chakra rod, and he would sense, in a sense, chakra controlling it. As he would see after they defeated all the paths, they all had the same type of resonating energy controlling it. So Naruto would tell Jiraiya to stab himself with it, so he can, in a sense, see where the location of the chakra is being emanated from. As Jiraiya would do this, as they would see it's some tree, right, in the rain village, right outside the rain village. As once they would make it there, they would open the tree, as they'd see Konan and and Nagato, right? As Jiraiya would recognize them, and he would tell them what happened after he left the rain village, 20 years ago. I believe that's the time. As they would explain this story, right, being how Nagato became leader of the Akatsuki. At first it was a peaceful organization, until he was killed, right, or at least Yahiko to be more specific, was killed, and Nagato was his right hand man. Forgive me if I made any mistakes there. So Yahiko was killed by not Danzo, but the Hanzo's Anbu, and Hanzo himself, I guess you can say. and Nagato would take over his position, right, as he was approached by a masked man, right, being Obito. As from there, like, he would explain like how the Akatsuki changed, as its goal changed to that being Project Sukenome. As Jiraiya would then say the Moon's Eye Plan. What does that mean? As Nagato would then say, at first Obito proposed it as a infinite, blissful dream, but I started to do more research on it, and I realized that it was to revive someone. I don't know who it is, but this person is strong. Like, I felt it myself just momentarily, and it was scary, right? As obviously we know this is Kaguya, but like, nobody really knows that just yet. So out of the corner, right, Obito would come in, as he would then kill Nagato, right? He's already said too much practically, right? As he would rip out the Rinnegan, as then he would then disappear into Kamui after telling Naruto like that he's gonna lose, something that an antagonist would say. So after he would disappear with his Kamui, everyone would be kind of shocked, because like Obito just came, killed Konan, killed Nagato, and then just disappeared. As it was kind of surprising. But now Obito has both of the Rinnegan, right? So what would occur from there is, once Obito would make it down to his hideout, he would make it there, right? As then he would see two shadows behind him, right? As he would turn around, he would see Momoshiki and Kinshiki. As Obito would try to do something, but like we both know that's not happening, right? So Momoshiki would walk up to the two Rinnegan like that were sitting on the table, and the not glasses, but vials. As he would then straight up just eat the Rinnegan. Like, that sounded sus, but he would just eat the Rinnegan, and he would start to, like, his body would just receive a power amp, right? In a sense, he would get more of an amp from fusing with Kinshiki. So obviously he would then see like Naruto's power. Like, he watched a fight happen with the paths, and he could see like he's definitely gonna push him to fused form at his full potential, right? So he would then absorb Kinshiki, right, so he can go into his final form, right? As that would be just a little bit stronger than usual. As now Naruto would then be leaving the hideout, right? And as he's leaving the hideout, right, someone would then land in front of him. As this would be none other than Momoshiki, right? So once he would do this, right, Naruto would then sense the power, right? As Momoshiki would say, like, how he killed Obito and practically absorbed the Rinnegan, becoming stronger. As Jiraiya would then be like, if he absorbed the Rinnegan, he's as strong or even stronger than Hagoromo. As Naruto would then prepare himself, right? He would then say, I'm abandoning all my defense so I can kill you right now, right? Because he knows, like, he's stronger than Obito, stronger than the Paths of Pain, stronger than the Sage of Six Paths. Like, he has to, like, end him, like, right here. He would then drop his blade, as he would then say, Senkei, Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. And of course he still had blood, like he was injured from the fight, so I know the terms of the Senkeis, like your blood turns into Sakura petals, and then that in a sense activates the ability. So Momoshiki would be sent to us, I guess they'd be in a closed dimension, as there would be all these swords, right, of Naruto, or I guess Senbon Sakura blades, as Naruto would then say that at this point none of the blades are going to come at him at the same time. And of course he said at this point, I mean, he might need to do that, but Naruto and Momoshiki would start fighting, just blade. And obviously Momoshiki, in a sense, not really having the blade, he would still be able to do pretty well, like hand-to-hand combat wise. So they would start clashing in a sense, as Momoshiki would then grab Naruto's blade, right? As Naruto kept forming the blades with his Senbon Sakura petals, and he would just shatter the blade itself, right? Before then grabbing Naruto by the face and slamming him in the ground, right? As he forms a chakra rod from absorbing the Rinnegan, he has access to forming things like that, as he would stab Naruto like in the chest, like in the lung, I guess you can say, right? As there'd be like, he would stab like right through, right? As once Naruto would recover, like there would be a gaping hole in his lung, right? As he would try to push Ryatsu into it, as he was having a bit of trouble doing just that. As he'd realize like being injured and all, like he's like practically like lying on his back while Jiraiya and Suigetsu are fighting. Obviously, that's like a losing battle, right? As he'd remember something, right? He'd remember a final ability, being obviously Ika Senjika, and of course, like in a sense, a realization of how he could use his Ryatsu, right? All the possible Kido he's been learning in his past life and in some in this life all come back to him, right? In a sense, as he'd realize like his Ryatsu or his blade was dulled, right? Because like in a sense he was naturally scared of Momoshiki, right? How he looked, his appearance. It's like, for example, if Byakuya were to fight Vasta Lord Ichigo, that's kind of like the feeling he would get in a sense. So he would get up, right? As he would then use his Ika Senjika ability, right? As suddenly the blades would then turn horizontally as they'd all fly towards Momoshiki, right? As Jiraiya, using this as his advantage, would summon the toad to use oil, as he'd use a fire style jutsu, right? As Suigetsu would turn into his giant form, his huge water form. It's kind of hard to explain. The amount of rain around him, right? Obviously, they're still in the dimension, but he absorbed most of the water from outside as he turns into his huge form and starts like straight up like hitting like Momoshiki. It looks like a bitch slap, but he's actually like straight up hitting him like that. Obviously, like he can't really use the executioner's blade. It's kind of obvious since he's in this huge form. It would be practically impossible. Not practically, but it just wouldn't work, right? I don't even know why I went over that, but Momoshiki would be hit by multiple like techniques, right? As like once that ended, right, he'd be seen with just like a missing arm, right? And like he'd just be like, it'd just be pouring out like blood, or I don't know if Otsutsuki's actually bleed blood like that, but in this case he would. It's kind of minuscule, but it is what it is. So after this, right, Momoshiki would then start to regenerate, and he would go on about a speech about how he's superior to you humans in a sense, right? Because he's an Otsutsuki, he thinks like that. And Naruto would then, in a sense, go through, he would start whispering to himself, right? As Momoshiki would look at him like he's not saying anything in a sense relevant to the conversation, so he's confused, like what is he saying? As Naruto had went through the incantations for Hado number 90. Now, I don't know if I have to explain this, but I mean, most of the captains can use that Kido. I'm very confident in that. I mean, Kenpachi can use it. He can't even control his own Ryatsu, but someone like Naruto or Byakuya, he can definitely do that. It's not as strong as, Aizen, though, who can fully manipulate gravity to, like, shoot down the Soul Palace. I mean, he didn't do that, but he was stated to be able to. So, Naruto would finish the incantation as Momoshiki realized what he was doing, right? He was performing some technique, and the incantation like made the technique like more powerful, right? As he would see his life essence like growing and growing as he finished it. As Naruto would point his finger in the air, as he would then say, Hado number 90, Kurohitsuki. As this purple cube box would form around Momoshiki, as it would just mutilate him like inside. Like the gravity would then, in a sense, crush him, right? As Momoshiki would then be killed, right? As, in a sense, this would mark the end of the, in a sense, Otsutsuki's coming to the planet for now, as they'd realize, like, he just beat Momoshiki. And, in a sense, some of the Otsutsukis were scared of Naruto, in a sense, and they would see, like, as the years would pass, just a few months from then, like Sasuke and Suigetsu, they would become so much stronger. And the other Akatsuki members are still a thing, like Hidan, Kakazu, Sasori, right? Once they realized the leaders were dead and the true purpose of the Akatsuki, someone like Itachi would go back to the village in a sense, as obviously Sasuke would be able to get the EMS, and so would Itachi, and other things would happen like that, right? As that would mark the end of this what if, right? As I don't even know I said right. It's sort of like me asking you a question, like that would be the end of this what if, when I know what the end of the what if is, and it's right now. But without further ado, guys, I hope you enjoyed this series. When I'm trying to do like daily uploading, or at least 3 times a week, like just actually like consistent, like, you know, trying to get back. I remember like in December, alright, I posted like every day for like a good 3 weeks, and it was a pretty good time. So like I should probably do something like that. But yeah, without further ado, guys, have a good day. Also, something I forgot to leave off was check out Rogue X. I mean, series I personally like is what if Naruto was the God of Destruction. Honestly, like that's actually pretty good. Even though it's like it's done a lot of times, it's actually like pretty unique for him to do. What if Naruto was Ishiki's Reincarnation? I definitely like that one. Also, what if Naruto had solo leveling? I watched all 4 hours of it, I believe it was, and it was definitely goated. I liked it. And yeah, also I'm gonna be doing a few thumbnails, so yeah, also be on the lookout for that. I mean, it's kind of minuscule because it's just a thumbnail, but yeah. But yeah, just check him out. Honestly, pretty underrated what if YouTuber compared to like Izukage and Xehther. Like who surpassed him? Obviously, like I think he might, you know, in a sense, reach his potential at the sooner or later, in a sense, and you know, gain his position back. Not his position, but like surpass them in a sense. But that's just what I think. But yeah, without further ado, guys, see you.